Hey, Jason Red 79 here, and I'm going to talk about something which amused me and also sort of infuriated me. I have friends who talk about like, oh, Whole Foods, you should like get unprocessed foods, because processed foods are not good for your health, and um, and then they take a lot of like supplements like protein powder, vitamins, all this. And honestly, I am not an expert in enough to be in either camp, whether whole foods or supplements. But I do know one thing. I do know that vitamin pills are processed. They are highly processed. In fact, vitamin all your vitamin pills, meal supplement powders, whatever, all of those are completely processed to the point that they started off as food and they are like unrecognizable as food. They are basically just a bunch of chemicals at this point, as opposed to like, and these very same people who say like, oh yeah, I take those same people who are like, oh yeah, I take my vitamins, and then they say, why do they take their vitamins? Because it's too much effort to eat a real fruit like an apple. And time to pull on the Captain Obvious hat again. Yeah, Captain Obvious. Uh, the supplements, all these chemical supplements are extremely processed. They are, you can't go around and say like, I don't approve of processed food like sausages and meatballs and stuff. And then but on the other hand, they say, oh, but you know, all these like Herbalife, all these protein shakes, all these meal replacement shakes are very healthy. I'm like, dude, compared to meatballs and sausages are like, they are maybe like 25% processed, but all these like supplements and stuff, these that come in powdered form, they are like 90% and process, 99% processed. They are like, I'm not sure if your body even recognizes them as food anymore. They might be like healthy, and basically, I'm not saying that supplements aren't unhealthy. They are proven to be quite healthy, but if like all those like completely processed supplements, which if you read off the ingredient list, they don't sound like food anymore. You read off like the nutritional list, what it contains. These are not like, they're not food anymore, or in any manner, and that probably makes you don't say like, these all these things are usually made up stuff that were once whole foods, and they are processed to the point that they turn into just a bunch of nutrients, a bunch of ingredients. And if you're I don't see how a food that has been processed to the point that they are just a bunch of nutrients and ingredients is supposedly less processed than say a sausage. Captain Obvious, yeah. It's like, yeah, I personally for me, I don't think that there's a huge distinction between whole foods and processed foods and semi-processed foods and all that. It's like, though I would say that I do know that eating an apple is safe. And vitamin pills have been, they've got track history of being relatively safe, but which is better for you? Well, the apple has sugar. It has sugar and like it has fiber too, which is good actually. I guess if you really need a concentrated form of nutrients, then supplements are necessary in some cases. But our ancestors got by eating just whole foods, semi-processed foods, not like completely processed foods. Anyhow, like as I said, whether you choose processed foods, whole food, unprocessed foods, semi-processed, that's all fine. That's all up to you. But I'm just calling out the hypocrisy of people who say sausages and canned foods are processed, so I don't want to eat them. But then they take like all these and like canned foods and stuff, which are like maybe like 10%, 20% processed, and then they eat stuff which is like 100% processed to the point that they do not resemble the original food in any shape or manner. When I eat a sausage, my body recognizes it as meat. Or I don't know if my body recognizes it, but I recognize it as meat and stuff. It's like I'm trusting my body to recognize the vitamins inside the vitamin pill. But honestly, as for me as a person, I I'm like that's a pill with like, yeah, it's not food anymore. It's vitamin pills, definitely not food anymore. It's like just concentrated chemicals which are hopefully good for your body. Whereas an apple, it's still healthy food. But and for me, the middle ground would be like sausages, meatballs, all that kind of stuff. For me, I don't know about. I feel I can still recognize those as food. There's also a lot to say about the form of processing, in what way it's processed, because some types of processing are definitely healthier than others. Like if sausages, like if all you're doing is grinding up meat and like, or meatballs, especially if there are a few preservatives, if all you're doing is just grinding up the meat and like shaping it, then it doesn't sound too bad. If you're like injecting it or mixing it full of like chemicals and preservatives, then that might not be so good for your, especially if they're like honestly, some of these preservatives are like, they've got warning symbols. Like some of these chemicals and preservatives have warnings like, do not consume more than don't know how many milligrams a day or something. And as soon as you go into that territory, yeah, you once you know that those are like, those chemicals and preservatives are like not good for you. So anything processed using those chemicals is maybe not so good and should be taken in sparing amounts. When you get down to it though, a lot of these supplements actually contain a bunch of chemicals which are not meant to be exceeded in certain dosages. So yeah, be careful of those too. To be fair, even whole foods have that problem too. you shouldn't take more than a certain amount of nutmeg. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, taking more than a certain amount of nutmeg within a short time period is not good for your organs either. There's certain berries and potatoes and fruits, and yeah, in fact, you shouldn't take too much meat, because you might get gout if you're prone to it. Yeah, so in general, in this one is not so obvious, so I'm going to take off the hat, but yeah, it's basically not so simple to just separate stuff into, say, like, oh, unprocessed food is good, processed food is bad. It's at the end of the day, sadly, you just have to be careful with what you eat. Even processed or unprocessed foods, yeah, there's no it's not so black and white. And there's body sensitivities and stuff. But yeah, but back to my original point though, which is my original point is, if you are the sort of person who, like, it takes all these supplements and meal replacement and all this sort of stuff, please don't go and say, like, oh yeah, that sausage you're eating is very unhealthy, it's processed food. I'm like, you're drinking a meal replacement shake in front of me while commenting on my perfectly normal sausage. That's not on. That is just not on. Okay, this is Jason Ritter 9 signing out. I will see you next time.